had their opportunity to stay undefeated, couldn't do it. And right now, Golden State is leading Oklahoma City by 4 in the first quarter over Thomas and Mack. If they end up winning that game, picking up the Warriors, they will be in the playoffs as well. The Heat still very aggressive on the offensive end. Everyone hitting the offensive glass despite the blowout score. But again, we keep saying it, and it sounds repetitive, but it is true. That is just the culture that has developed there in Miami.
But isn't it amazing how you would take a guy who has had experience in other organizations, and then you plant them in the Miami Heat organization, all of a sudden, they pretty much become different people. I mean, like in a better way.
Daniels tried a little up and under through the contact and couldn't get it to go, but he will shoot 2 free throws. And it is so much about environment that shapes a person, or an athlete for that matter, in this context.
You had an opportunity to talk with Juwan Howard the other day, who spent 6 years on the coaching staff with the Miami Heat before he went to the University of Michigan. And he talked about that, like, simply about how being around Eric Spoelstra on a daily basis, you know, being there with Pat Riley, he played for the Miami Heat, so he knew about the Heat culture. But how that really prepared him to be a head coach, where he had tremendous success, in my opinion, early in his career at Michigan, but more now with the Brooklyn Nets on their sidelines as assistant coach.
Let me ask you this, because you mentioned the Heat culture and also the Spurs culture. Of course, you were there with Greg Popovich. Why do you think it's so hard to develop that type of culture that can last decades in an organization and then leads to success?
Pat Riley has been in Miami since 1994, 1995. Greg Popovich has been in San Antonio since 1993. It's the longevity, it's the respect that you have at the top of the organization, and you know who's making the final decision. And so as long as you know that we have that constant, we've got that constant there, we know what it's about, everything trickles down from there. There's no fighting the system.
In this day and age, everybody wants it right now. And it seems as though in the NBA, but other teams, other sports as well, you see it in the NFL, see it in Major League Baseball, that the owners typically don't have the patience that the Heat had at one point to be able to allow Pat Riley to establish that, especially what the Spurs did under Greg Popovich. They want it now. Like, if it's not this guy, we got to get this guy. Next thing you know, you got 4 coaches in a 6-year span. You got 3 GMs. And then what is your culture behind all of that chaotic transition?
But again, it goes back to, we're 30 years removed from these two, luminaries being at the head of those two organizations. That's not going to happen anymore.
You're right.
I mean, you said it. I mean, it's not. We want it now. The microwave society that we live in now, you're not going to get that much time. These guys established that back in the 90s when you could have that time.
Right.
And so, but the likelihood of seeing that happen again, and again, who knows what happens at the time when Pat Riley says, okay, enough is enough. When Greg Popovich says enough is enough. They have now developed the culture behind them to keep it going. Eric Spoelstra, if he says at some point, I want to step off the sidelines and I want to go now be the president of basketball operations for the Miami Heat, he understands how the organization needs to be run because he's been in it for 20 plus years under Pat Riley.
Nice feed there by Jerome to Chauncey for the dunk. And every team wants a Pat Riley and a Greg Popovich. But to your point, they're luminaries because they're rare.
Yes.
I mean, Jerry West was of that ilk, a few generations before that. But if you go through the entire history of the league, there's only maybe a handful of men who've been able to lead organizations in that capacity for an extended period of time. And, of course, it all goes back to Red Auerbach with the Celtics back in the start of the 1950s.
Rest in peace to the logo, the legend that is Jerry West. But think about this. How many different organizations was Jerry West a part of? We know that, of course, he was great with the Lakers, but then he finished his career with the Clippers, I believe. The Memphis Grizzlies at one point.
Yep.
The Clippers, Golden State.
Yep.
So 4 different organizations for Jerry West. So even the great Jerry West didn't have the continuity that Greg Popovich and Pat Riley had.
I do believe that was a regret for Jerry Buss.
I can imagine.
That they couldn't get past some personal issues that would have kept Jerry West where he should have been his entire career, was with the Lakers. But I was fortunate enough to meet Jerry when I did television for the Grizzlies and he came to Memphis. So for me personally, it was great. But you're right. If anybody should have stayed with one team their entire career, it should have been Jerry West.
But if we go back and look, the best season ever for the Grizzlies, I think it was 2013. Jerry West at the, and again, a luminary like that can bring that culture if they're given the time and the patience to be able to establish it. It's not going to happen overnight.
Right. Nice challenge there. Moore going up to the rim, but Washington was there to greet him. Speaking of competitors, Jerry West.
Oh, yes.
In everything. Play golf with that man? Competitor.
The reason why he's on every floor, every backboard, it's the reason why he's the logo.
Yep.
There he is, and deservedly so. And I can tell you right now, I don't know of a current NBA player that would ever want to change that.
Well, and here's the thing. There's only one person that would be considered for it, and that's Michael Jordan.
And he would say no way.
He would say no.
That is absolutely.
He would say no.
Absolutely Jerry West spot to keep forever. Speaking of Michael Jordan.
It is a cool logo, though.
It is very cool. Speaking of Michael Jordan, and I know you know this because you're an NBA savant. How about Pat Riley retiring Michael Jordan's number 23 in Miami? Is there a greater sign of respect?
No. No.
But you talk about competitors. Pat Riley, Jerry West, who basically it was Jerry West who was said that Pat Riley should be the coach of the Showtime Lakers back in the 1980s.
Yes, he made that decision.
He made that happen. Pat Riley, Jerry West, Michael Jordan. Maybe 3 of the best competitors in the history of this game.
Oh, 100%. I mean, Pat Riley obviously wasn't the player that West and Jordan was, but in terms of just overall competition-wise,
yes.
Yes.
That competitive also goes into the front office and on the sideline.
Without question. Without question. Nice take there by Giroux. Final seconds here as the Heat take care of business. About to head to the playoffs this weekend. We
talk about those competitors.
Yep.
How about a guy that Jerry West had a whole lot to do with?
Oh, Washington with the finish, and I'm guessing you're going to mention Kobe Bryant.
It would be the late, great Kobe Bean Bryant. Rest in peace, Kobe. Rest in peace.